Welcome everybody to another episode of Deep Dive. Today we're going to be looking at the Nokia 2.2. So the internet is filled with a ton of reviews about flagship phones, but it's time that we looked at a value phone. So as you can see, the design is pretty simple and straightforward. It's just a glossy black plastic. It's shiny and simple, but it's elegant. In terms of the rear design, you could see the Nokia branding prominently in the center and the Android One branding below that. As for the camera, it's a single lens unit with a flash. There's a speaker at the bottom, and at the base is a headphone jack and a micro USB. On the left side, there is one button, which is to bring up the Google Assistant, and on the right, there is a power button as well as a volume rocker. In terms of the ergonomics and how it feels in the hand, it's nice. It's a small phone, fits well into the hand, and you can reach both the buttons well. At the side, there is a provision for removing the back plate. We'll look into this a little bit more when we're looking at the battery. As for the camera setup, it's a 13 megapixel sensor at the rear, and at the front is a 5 megapixel sensor. Keeping in mind the budget price point, it's only fair that the camera setup is basic. Looking at the photographs, you can see that the sky is overexposed, so the camera does seem to struggle with bright scenes. This one is a little better, the sky is blue, but the shadow areas are not too good. This one is quite a mess. The sky is completely overexposed and the lighting over the other areas are also pretty bad. This picture has come out okay, but again, the sky is completely overexposed. Indoors, the camera fares a lot better dealing with indoor light in a much better way. With the subject in an outdoor setting, with the exception of the sky being a little blown out and overexposed, the picture is okay, a little darker than what we would have liked. As for the next one, you can clearly see with the sky out of the picture, the skin tones are way better. Food seems to be okay. Clearly the camera has trouble with negotiating light. When you cut the light out, like in this picture, it's a lot better. Definition on the glass is decent, colors are just okay. As for night pictures, clearly the camera struggles. It's not well suited for any kind of night photography. As for the 5 megapixel front camera, it does take nice pictures. It does still struggle with light negotiation a bit, but it's a nice picture. Moving on to the video capability, we were shooting at 1080p and 30 frames per second. This video was shot in the afternoon. The quality of the video is quite good. Colors are accurate. Stabilization is not too good. This is handheld, so you can see there is a little bit of shake. But outside of that, the video quality is quite acceptable. Moving on to video at night, this is the same street and the same scene, but as you can see, it struggles with focus quite a bit. The battery on this Nokia 2.2 is a 3000 mAh unit, but what's nice about it is that it's removable. So we're going to open up the phone, rear plate, and take out the battery. It's probably been a while since you've seen units like this, so it's nice that Nokia still makes this available. So snapping off that rear panel, you can look at the battery. Being removable, you do have the option of carrying a second one if you want to swap them out when your battery gets low. You can also see that the phone has dual SIM capability. As for the charge matrix, you could pause now if you want to look at it in detail, but since there is no fast charger, it takes just over 2.5 hours to reach a full charge. In our usage, with medium use, the phone easily lasted a day. The unit does have a fail-safe, so when the phone reaches 2% of charge, it will shut down. Also worth mention is the information on the home screen when connected to the charger. It does give you an update in terms of how long it would take to reach full charge. This unit has a modest 5.71-inch screen, so it's not too big, but on the plus side, it does fit in your hand well and the device is not massive. There are noticeable bezels around the screen though, so do be prepared for that. In terms of resolution, it maxes out at 720p, so it's not a full 1080 HD screen. The screen panel type is an IPS LCD. As for the user interface, this does sport stock Android, so the Android One experience is nice if you're accustomed to that. On the other hand, if you're used to a different user interface from one of the other manufacturers, or like me, you use the Microsoft launcher, you would probably miss some of the gestures and controls that it makes available. As for the core specs, the device has a quad-core MediaTek processor, as well as 3 GB of memory and 32 GB of storage. There is a lesser variant also available with 2 GB of memory and 16 GB of storage. As for how it performs, I was certainly underwhelmed. The device does get slow, especially when you have a lot of apps open, and it does start lagging. Perhaps the Achilles heel of the phone is the storage access speed. It is quite slow, and this is especially noticeable when you're doing Google updates. The phone becomes almost unusable because the access to the storage is taking up all the performance capacity of the phone. The phone does feature face unlock, but I did find the implementation quite slow, taking up to 5 seconds. And of course, in poor lighting conditions, it's not very good. As for what stood out, it's probably the Nokia brand, which is known to be reliable always, as well as the small, slick design and fit. It is a nice, comfortable phone to use. The price point is also quite impressive. That said, pay a little bit more and you could probably step up to a much more full-featured Realme phone. So who is this phone for? Well, if you're looking for an ultra-affordable smartphone meant for the budget seeker looking for modest specs and decent functionality, backed by Android One and the legendary Nokia reliability, yep, this is probably the phone for you. But keep in mind that it's not well suited for heavy multitasking or photography finesse. Hope you're enjoying our videos. Do consider subscribing for additional tech content, and we will see you in the next one.